What's up, gang? So we're going to review all of the bones and their markings today. So right here we have the clavicle, and then we have the sternal end right here, and the acromial end, which is on this side. And it's going to sit in your body like this. You can orient it because this little bump in the back right here is you don't have to know this for your lab, but it's the conoid tubercle, and that's going to be posterior always. So it's going to sit like this. And then you have your scapula, which is this right here. This is going to be your medial border. This is going to be your lateral border. And then you have your spine right here in the back, which leads to your acromion process. Remember A for away. So acromion is away from the glenoid cavity. And then you have your coracoid process, which is right here, which is more anterior. And then you have your glenoid fossa, which is this part right here. And then you have your supraglenoid tubercle. It's going to be right here. So this is important because it's an insertion for some of your muscles in your arm. And this right here is where your humerus connects to your shoulder, like this. But yeah, that's it for your scapula. So then we're going to move on to your humerus right here. You're going to have your head, which is right here, which fits into the fossa like we talked about. Then you have your greater tubercle, which is going to be this one right here. This one. Then you have your lesser tubercle, which is this one right here. And in between your tubercles is your intertubercular sulcus. And then you're going to have your deltoid tuberosity, which is where your deltoid innervates. And it's going to be right here. It's going to be this bumpy region right under here. And then you're going to have your capitulum. This is going to be on the distal end now. So your capitulum is this ball-like thing down here. This little cannonball sort of thing. Capitulum is right here. Your trochlea is this little spool-looking thing right here. This is your trochlea right here. Then you have your median epicondyle. You can orient yourself because this head is always going to be towards the medial side. So your median epicondyle is going to be right here. And then just median epicondyle. Your coronoid fossa is going to be right here. It's going to be this little hole right here. Your radial fossa is going to be lateral to that, so it's going to be in this region right here. It's kind of hard to see on this model, but it's going to be kind of right underneath the capitulum. And then if you flip it over, your olecranon fossa is going to be in the back. And fossas, remember, fossas are named for what fits in them. So your ulna is going to fit in here like this. So that is it for the humerus. And then we can move on to the ulna. We have the olecranon process right here. Then we have the coronoid process, which is going to be on the bottom right here. And then we have the trochlear notch, which is this kind of notch that goes in here like this. And then we're going to have your radial notch on the side. That's where your radius sits, head of your radius sits. And on the distal end, you're going to have your head, which is right here, and your styloid process, which remember are the super sharp processes that you have. Small sharp processes are styloid. And that is it for the ulna. So we're going to move on to the radius. So for radius, the head is going to be this right here. The neck is going to be this part right here, across here. You have your radial tuberosity, which is this huge bump right here. This big bump's going to be your radial tuberosity. Then you have your styloid process again right here. Right here's the styloid process, and then your ulnar notch is going to sit right in here. And that is it for the radius. And then you have your hand. So let's look at your carpals. So you have your scaphoid, lunate, and trapezium. Or trapezium, remember, is the one right underneath your thumb. And then you have your scaphoid is the next one. and then your lunate, the lunar one, think of the moon, is the next one. So trapezium, scaphoid, lunate. Or if you're doing it this way, this would be trapezium, scaphoid, lunate. And then we're going to move on to your metacarpals, which they're just labeled. Metacarpals are this right here. So this is going to be like the palm of your hand. Many people think that this is the palm, but actually this is what your palm looks like. So it's going to be labeled from your thumb and over. So it's going to be labeled 1, so since it's your thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you look at your phalanges, which are your fingers right here, they each have a proximal middle distal. So it's proximal middle distal, except for your thumb, which only has a proximal and distal because it only has 2 of the phalanx bones. And that is it.
Alright, what's up guys? We're gonna continue going over some of the bones, but we're gonna go over the lower extremity. So we'll start here with your coxal bone, or your ossa coxa right here. So this portion right here, those are your sacroiliac joints. This is your sacroiliac joints, which connects with the sacrum right here. You have this big socket right here, that's the acetabulum or acetabulum. That's what forms the hip joint with the femur. And this entire big part, that's called the ilium. So the ossa coxa is formed of 3 bones. You have the ilium, which is this big part. You have the pubis right here, and then you have the ischium right here. So ilium, pubis, and ischium. Those are the 3 bones that form the ossa coxa. So in the ilium, you have this winged, smooth, flat part right here. That's called the ala right here. You have the iliac crest, which goes around. And you have on the anterior side, right here, you have the anterior superior iliac spine. Right here is the anterior superior iliac spine. And on the posterior side, you have the posterior superior iliac spine right here. Posterior superior iliac spine. Then you have the greater sciatic notch right here. That notch right there, that's the greater sciatic notch. And the greater sciatic notch is always posterior. So, like that. On the ischium right here, you have the ischial spine, this little bump right here, that's the ischial spine. And you have the lesser sciatic notch, which is right under the ischial spine right here. So greater sciatic notch, ischial spine, and then lesser sciatic notch right here. And then this little bumpy part right here, that's the ischial tuberosity. That's what bears your weight when you sit down. So that's your ischial tuberosity. And then this little hole right here, that's your obturator foramen. Obturator foramen, this hole right here. And on your pubic bone, you have right here, there's a fibrocartilage pad called the pubic symphysis. That sits right here. Fibrocartilage pad called the pubic symphysis. And next you have your femur, which sits like that on the acetabulum, the femur. And on the femur, you have the head right here. And on the head, you have this little indentation called the fovea capitis. You have the fovea capitis right here. This is the neck of the femur, And on the posterior side, you can see these 2 bumps. You have the greater trochanter right here, and then the lesser trochanter right here. So greater trochanter, and then lesser trochanter right here. On the distal end right here, you have the medial condyle right here, and then you have the lateral condyle right here. And you know it's medial because the head is always pointing on the medial side. So this is the medial condyle right here, and the lateral condyle right here. And on the top, you have your patellar groove or patellar surface. That's where your patella will sit. Next, you have your tibia. So your tibia connects with your femur like that. And on the proximal side, you have your medial condyle, and you have your lateral condyle right here. So this is the medial condyle, and you have the lateral condyle right here, and you have this bump in the front, that's the tibial tuberosity. tibial tuberosity. And then this little sharp border right here, that's the anterior border. That's your shin, your anterior border. And on the far end, you have this bump right here. That's called your medial malleolus. Medial malleolus. And that's on the medial side, which forms your inner ankle. So this is your left tibia. This is the medial malleolus. So medial malleolus, and on the top you have the medial condyle. Next you have your fibula, which is the fine bone right here. You have the head of the fibula right here, and then you have the lateral malleolus, which forms your outer ankle right here. So the head is a little bit thicker, and the lateral malleolus is a little bit more pointy right here, and that forms your outer ankle. Next you have your foot right here. You have some tarsals. So in the hand it's called carpals, but on the foot it's called tarsals. Your heel bone right here, in the bottom is the calcaneus. Right here, this is the calcaneus, and the bone on top of that is the talus, and that's what articulates with your tibia. So your tibia would go like that on the talus right here. And then you have your metatarsals, and it starts with the big toe. So this would be metatarsal number 1, metatarsal number 2, metatarsal number 3, and then 4, and then 5. So on the lab exam, you have to say like what number metatarsal it is. And then you have your phalanges right here. Similar to the hand, your big toe only has 2, the proximal and the distal phalange, and then your other toes have 3. So the proximal, the middle, and the distal. But in your lab exam, you have to specify which number and which bone. So this one, like right here, would be like middle phalanx number 2, and this one right here would be like distal phalanx number 5, and stuff like that. So that's what you need to pay attention to when you're looking at the foot.
Back again. So we're gonna go over your joints and stuff now. So we have your femur right here, your tibia right here, and your fibula right here. They all join at the knee. You have your patella right here. That's underneath your patellar ligament, which is this whole thing right here. So you're gonna have your meniscus, which is like these sort of disc things inside the knee. So this one is gonna be your lateral meniscus on this side, the fibular side. Remember that fibula is lateral. So you're gonna have your lateral meniscus on this side, and then you're gonna have your medial meniscus right here on your tibial side, because remember you have your median malleolus, that's medial. So this is your medial meniscus right here. And then you're gonna have your fibular collateral ligament, which is gonna be this one right here, leads to your fibula, and your tibial collateral ligament, which is gonna lead to your tibia right here, this one right here. And then you're gonna have your ACL, which if you kind of pop this open right here, it's gonna be this one right here. That's the one that gets torn a lot in sports and stuff. If you're doing quick, fast motions, you can tear this easily. So this is your ACL, or anterior cruciate ligament. Anterior cruciate ligament. And then the back, this one in the back is going to be your posterior cruciate ligament. And that is it for the knee. So we're going to move on to the shoulder now. You're going to have your biceps brachii tendon right here. This is going to be your biceps brachii tendon. And then acromioclavicular ligament is going to be this one right here. And then this one right here. This one that connects these two right here is going to be your coracoacromial. Coracoacromial ligament. These are all going to be ligaments, these red things. Coracoacromial ligament. So all the ligaments are named, it's going to be named for these bones that they attach to. And then this one right here, since this is the coracoid process, it's going to be your coracoclavicular ligament.